Part 23. Shenhao, My Fiancée is a Villain Female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 221. Zhu Gang's expression suddenly changed. Zhang Cheng. This name is familiar to him. Chairman of the Zhang Group in the Magic City, but it went bankrupt. However, news recently came out that he is the actual controlling shareholder of Tiancheng Technology in Yeadu. As a company chairman, Zhu Gang is still very well informed. Apart from anything else, in this aspect, he has to be clearer than some big shots, because as a small force, he has to be prepared for all kinds of things at any time. Zhang, Mr. Zhang, why did you come to see me? Zhu Gang quickly gave up his seat, invited Zhang Cheng into the villa, led him to sit on the sofa in the living room, and poured him a cup of tea himself. Zhang Cheng took the tea and took a sip. He glanced at Zhu Ming and said with a faint smile, "It seems that the Zhu family is having a rough time these days. Not only is it a bit miserable, it is simply too miserable to look at. Being used by him like a tool, almost all the Zhu family was helping him to deal with Chen Luo. Zhang Cheng just cut off Chen Luo's opportunity. Leave the rest to the Zhu family. Zhu Ming, a very useful tool man." "Mr. Zhang, you are ridiculous," Zhu Gang said with a smile. He thought Zhang Cheng was talking about Zhu Ming. Are you Miss Zhong's boyfriend?" Zhu Ming, who was in a state of despair, regained a little sparkle in his eyes when he heard the news. When he saw Zhang Cheng sitting in front of him, he immediately exclaimed, "Zhongji's boyfriend is here in person. If you lick him well, your Zhu family might not have to go bankrupt." Although the Zhong family is a new family, in terms of wealth, it is not much less than the Su group. In the Demon City, they will not lose to the Su family. "It seems that Mr. Zhu Ming still remembers me." Zhang Cheng smiled slightly and did not deny it. Zhu Gang was a little moved when he heard that Zhang Cheng was actually Zhongji's boyfriend. This news is a bit exciting. "Mr. Zhang, do you know Quanzi?" Zhu Gang asked cautiously. Zhang Cheng glanced at him, nodded and said, "Well, some time ago, Zhongji and I had dinner and met Mr. Zhu Ming by chance." After saying that, Zhang Cheng laughed again and said, "When I saw him with a woman, my wife thought they were quite right. That one from my family. This is a lot of information." Zhu Gang was a little overjoyed when he heard this. This is a life-saving straw. Suppressing the excitement in his heart, Zhu Gang asked carefully, "So this time Mr. Zhang came to the door in person, do you have any instructions?" Zhang Cheng's identity is not something they can compare with. If someone just picks up some benefits, my little Zhu family can benefit a lot. The big families eat with their mouths full of oil. If a little bit flows out, it will be a huge wealth that is unimaginable for the poor. Haha, I have nothing to do. I was wandering around this villa area. I planned to buy 2 villas in Demon City. When I saw you here, I walked up and knocked on the door and came in to sit," Zhang Cheng said casually. Zhu Gang was a little disappointed. "But it doesn't matter, you can flatter yourself." Zhu Gang stood up immediately and sent Zhang Cheng out again. "Mr. Zhang, I will send you out." Even Zhu Ming, who was in a daze on the side, came to his senses at this time. Big list. Go to some fucking maid country. It was like saving their Zhu family from fire and water. P.S. I promised everyone that I would stay up all night to deliver it. I will go to bed first and go to the hospital tomorrow. I have a very uncomfortable stomach problem. The big benefactor is here and you still don't know how to lick? This time they will definitely not want to take advantage of the raw materials. Zhang Cheng's behavior is no different from giving carbon in the snow. If Zhang Cheng gets the order from this group, he won't have to worry about the Su family coming to trouble him in the next few years. It's a timely help. The Zhu family was ruined by me. Look, no more moving. Hearing this, Zhu Gang's eyes lit up instantly. After leaving the door, Zhang Cheng suddenly stopped, smiled at Zhu Gang and said, "You can send someone over to negotiate with Tiancheng professionals now. Just tell me my name." After Zhu Ming heard this, his eyes gradually brightened, and finally he burst out with fiery eyes. It wasn't until he left that Zhu Gang showed ecstasy. After closing the door and running back to the living room of the villa, his voice shook the entire villa. "Ha ha ha, God is really blessing my Zhu family. After all, you can be considered the subordinates of my girlfriend's family. It's getting late, I should go back and have a meal with my wife, and go shopping with her tonight." Zhang Cheng raised his left hand, looked at the time on the Patek Philippe, and then stood up and said, "The Zhu family is not done yet." Zhu Gang quickly replied, "We are a small business and run a small building materials company." A building materials company. On the road, in the Porsche, Zhang Cheng looked at the Zhu family villa disappearing in the rearview mirror and couldn't help but grin. "Everyone, remember to eat on time. And it's much easier to do than other companies." Zhu Gang grabbed his son's arm and shook it hard. "Son, we don't need to move, we are in the Demon City." Hearing this, Zhang Chen narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, "It just so happens that my subsidiary Tiancheng Technology is building a group headquarters in the Science Park recently. I am thinking about which building materials company to find. After completing this order, this small villa should be replaced by a large villa." After saying that, Zhang Chen got into the car, started the car, and drove away from the Zhu family's villa. He glanced at Zhu Ming involuntarily and found that this prodigal was in a daze. "Mr. Zhang, our Zhu family can guarantee you the best ingredients," Zhu Gang said hurriedly. "This kind of company is even better." Upon hearing this, Zhu Gang was overjoyed. "By the way, what kind of business does your Zhu family do?" At this moment, Zhang Cheng said again. Zhang Chen narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, "Ha ha ha, you can think about it. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO." Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 222. Zhang Cheng felt good or bad about himself for no reason. It both gave them hope and made them despair. If the Zhu family didn't want to leave the Demon City in despair, they would run to Tiancheng Technology as quickly as possible to negotiate with them. But he didn't really destroy anyone's family. At least, there is one last way for them, which is to sever the father-son relationship with Zhu Ming, so that the Zhu family can be safe. Or just stop talking about any business now and escape from the Dragon Kingdom to the Maid Country as quickly as possible. If Zhu Gang were to choose one now, it would definitely be to move his family abroad. But now Zhang Cheng gave him a little more bait, and he ate it, and the last road was completely blocked. Zhang Cheng drove the car, humming a song, and went to the next stop. Zhong family. In the Zhu family villa, Zhu Ming has returned to his former glory. Come to life again. Zhu Ming said to his father, "Dad, I want to take that woman Xia Wanting back." Zhu Gang slapped him on the face, and he was furious. His mood, which had just improved, was wiped out by his words. "You don't think the bad luck this woman brings is bad enough, do you? Still want to take it back?" Zhu Ming was stunned by this sudden slap and stood there for a while. "Did my dad hit me?" This was the first time since childhood that he had been slapped. Zhu Gang glared at him and changed the subject again, but Zhang Chen was willing to give her a chance because of you and Xia Wanting. "You go find her and get her back for me, and settle down first. Wait until Tiancheng Technology completes this project before throwing her away." He didn't forget that Zhang Cheng reminded him just now because Zhongzhi was optimistic about his son's marriage to Xia Wanting. "That's why I was given this opportunity." But he didn't want Xia Wanting to be his daughter-in-law, but he didn't dare to violate it. "We can only let Zhu Ming take her back and place her first, and wait until the Tiancheng Technology project is completed, then let Zhu Ming dump her. After completing this project, even if we only earn 10%, we can earn 2 to 3 billion." Zhu Gang's eyes were shining with excitement. 2 to 3 billion. Their company's annual net profit is only 30 to 40 million. Excluding the dividends given to shareholders, there was actually not much in Zhu Gang's hands. But he is the boss and can use the status to get loans, so there is never a shortage of luxury cars and villas. The only thing that is most lacking is money. You go to the Xia family and take Xia wanting to live in your villa. Even if she sleeps like a chicken, you have to give me enough sleep. When the project is completed, you can throw it away or not. Zhu Gang ordered without looking back, picked up his briefcase, and walked out. Big business is coming. Zhu Ming sat alone on the sofa, and after listening to his words in a daze, he carefully savored the meaning of his words. That's right. If you throw some money away after you sleep, you can decide whether you want this company or not. When I go back to my hometown to run a small business, don't you believe they can still reach out? Wouldn't it be nice to wait until I sleep with Xia wanting for a few years and get the money and then kick her away? I can marry another one in the future. The more Zhu Ming thought about it, the more excited he became. He had been hurt so badly by Xia wanting, why should he let her go so easily? She can still use her last remaining energy to make her family rich. Yes, hurry up and take her back to the villa. In the past 2 years, I have relied on her to vent my anger. After saying that, Zhu Ming hurriedly got up, picked up the car keys and left. He is going to pick up Xia wanting. But what he didn't know was that the Zhu family had long been sentenced to death by Zhang Cheng. If their words were heard by Zhang Cheng, he would probably be tortured even worse. Zhang Cheng didn't want to see Xia wanting, a wallflower who couldn't firmly believe in herself, live a good life, but he wouldn't torture her either. In fact, he had no plans against the Xia family, because Chen Luo would do it. Xia wanting's final outcome will only be Chen Luo himself. He will only take action against the Zhu family. Zhang Cheng drove to Zhongzhi's company. Before he could go up, Zhongzhi was already waiting for him in the company's underground parking lot. Little rascal, why did you come to me? As soon as Zhongzhi got in the car, she smacked Zhang Cheng's right cheek and chuckled. Zhang Cheng stretched out his hand to wipe away the lipstick marks left on his cheeks, and said with a smile in his eyes, "Didn't I promise you yesterday that I would go see your father?" As soon as she heard the news, Zhong Xian burst out laughing, "You're just going to see my dad just to discuss business." Zhang Cheng drove calmly and said, Let's see if my father-in-law is easy to get along with." Zhang Cheng didn't even know how many father-in-laws he had now. Su Yao's parents run a branch abroad, Zhang La's parents are his subordinates, and Chen Yingxiu's father has been cured by herself, and she may even give her a half-brother. Now there is Zhongzhi. Zhang Cheng suddenly felt a little emotional. It seemed like, I was a Neptune? Zhongzhi covered her mouth and smiled. "If it were before, I would tell you that my dad is not easy to talk to, but now, my dad is still easy to talk to." After the father and daughter resolved the conflict, there was naturally no estrangement. Zhang Cheng smiled slightly. "That's good. In fact, it doesn't matter whether you talk or not, your father's weaknesses are all in my hands." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shenhao, My Fiancée is a Villain Female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 223. Zhang Cheng drove to the Zhong family's villa. Zhong Shujao was watching the TV, and when he heard the sound of the door opening, he said without looking back, "Are you getting off work so early today?" Because there are only 4 people living in this villa, he and his wife, Zhongzhi, and a nanny. His wife had just gone out to get her hair done, and the nanny was cooking dinner in the kitchen. The only one who could walk in was his daughter Zhongzhi, and Zhong Shujao didn't even need to guess. "Dad, I brought someone back," Zhongzhi said as soon as she entered the door. "Who?" Zhong Shujao turned around with a smile. When he saw Zhang Cheng, he was stunned at first, and then a little surprised. "This is, Zhang Cheng?" Zhong Shujao asked with some uncertainty. Zhong Ji nodded, "Yes." Zhong Shujao stood up and walked over, stretched out his hand, and said with a smile, "Mr. Zhang Cheng, I have admired you for a long time." "Mr. Zhong is welcome," Zhang Cheng said. The three of them sat in the living room. Zhong Shujao took out his collection of tea leaves and made a pot of tea. Zhong Ji was responsible for making and pouring the tea. Zhong Shujao asked brightly, "I wonder what Mr. Zhang is doing when he comes to visit." "Come here to discuss business with Mr. Zhong." Zhang Cheng took a sip of tea with a smile on his lips. Talking about business is now what he talks about most. With these people, you basically have nothing to talk about except offering benefits to attract them. Zhong Shujao squinted his eyes and said, "Oh, I wonder what business Mr. Zhang has to discuss." "Talk to Mr. Zhong about the holographic cooperation project," Zhang Cheng said with a faint smile. "Hologram? You can talk about it." Zhong Shujao nodded. Although Zhong Ji is now in charge of their Zhong family's technology company, he still has the final say in major matters. "I want Mr. Zhong to create a holographic shopping app." Then, Zhang Cheng told him his thoughts completely. "In fact, the content is very simple. I want to use the app to create a holographic shopping method. You can use sample shoes to create holographic images and upload them to the app. Users can try on shoes and clothes on holograms. Once this function comes out, many people who like online shopping will definitely go crazy for it. Especially those girls in the so-called Hanfu Circle and JK Uniform Circle." After listening to Zhang Cheng's description, Zhong Shujiao's eyes lit up and he said with a smile, "This is pretty good, but..." Zhong Shujiao changed the topic and his tone suddenly became calmer. "However, Mr. Zhang can actually make this kind of app. Why should it be made by our Zhong family?" Zhang Cheng's eyes suddenly narrowed and he looked at him for a while, then slowly said, "Because I don't want to be the target of public criticism." Is Mr. Zhong satisfied with this explanation? After listening, Zhong Shujiao laughed again. "Ha ha ha, I understand. After all, Mr. Jiang's holographic device is already making people jealous. If other things are included in it, there will really be no way for people to survive. It's getting late now. Would you like to stay for dinner, Mr. Zhang?" Looking at Zhong Shujiao, who remained unchanged, Zhang Cheng shook his head. "Let's do it next time. I have something else to do." Hearing his refusal, Zhong Ji, who was standing by, immediately said, "Huh? What's going on? Don't you leave until you have a meal." She also felt something was wrong, but she couldn't say what it was. Zhang Cheng smiled gently at her and said, "I have something to deal with, so I won't eat next time." After saying that, he nodded to Zhong Shujiao, smiled faintly, and said, "Mr. Zhong, let's talk about it in detail next time." Zhong Shujiao drank tea and responded softly, "Okay, Aji, help me see Mr. Zhang off." Zhong Shujiao had no intention of getting up to see him off, but instead ordered Zhong Ji to take his place. Zhang Cheng didn't care, got up and went out. After Zhong Ji came back, Zhong Ji immediately said, "Dad, what's going on with you two? We were having a good chat, but suddenly everything changed." Zhong Ji was a little confused. It was clear that the two of them had a good conversation before, but they didn't know where to start, and their tone changed. Zhong Shujiao put down his teacup, looked at Zhong Ji, and asked seriously, "What is your relationship with him?" This sudden sentence made Zhong Ji a little confused. "Ah, Dad, why do you ask this? Just friends. Did Dad find out? It shouldn't be." Her flash of panic could not be concealed from Zhong Shujiao. After getting the answer, Zhong Shujiao sat on the sofa and drank tea quietly. "Good guy, you took my daughter without me realizing it." When Zhong Shujiao asked Zhang Cheng why he didn't do it himself, he understood that Zhang Cheng came here to give this benefit to him. But the man's intuition told him that Zhang Cheng's purpose was not simple. This is a gut feeling. It's also the perception that only Neptune has. As a young man, he was also a sea king, and the net under the net was still very wide, and he also had a lot of fish. Zhang Cheng gave him a very dangerous feeling, and he was also raising fish. His daughter is his fish. Thinking of this, Zhong Shujao couldn't help but ask, "Daughter, how is your relationship with him? What do you think of him?" These two questions made Zhong Ji a little unsure of how to answer them. After thinking about them, she said, "Zhang Cheng is very good, he is a very good person." After hearing the answer, Zhong Shujao was sure that his daughter had been caught by him. Hateful brat. Hey, I don't know how much this kid has raised. If he is too powerful, he will be raising sharks. Can my daughter stand out from them? Zhong Shujao let out a long sigh. Zhongji, who was beside him, always felt that his father was inexplicable tonight. In the Porsche car, Zhang Cheng's lips raised slightly. The bell tree is tall. A very interesting person. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 224. Zhong Shujao is also a shrewd guy. It seems that this former big fish farmer has a sharp sword, and he can see through himself at a glance. This is intuition. Zhang Cheng could feel the changes in Zhong Shujao. He must have discovered that he was raising fish. No need to guess. Good guy. I originally thought that Zhong Shujao would not be able to recognize him. After all, he is so harmless, but Neptune's intuition directly made him feel something was wrong. Zhang Cheng muttered to himself. If he were to find Zhong Shujao alone, he would never find out. But when he went back with Zhongji, Zhong Shujao suddenly became suspicious. In the end, Zhang Cheng was exposed in just one sentence. If you haven't finished dinner yet, let's take Zhang Lai out for a walk. Zhang Cheng didn't think too much and quickly put the problem behind him. Driving the car attentively. I haven't taken Zhang Lai out for a while. I promised to bring her here to play, but she was left alone in the villa to watch dramas. Fortunately, I have some free time now, so I can go and spend some time with her. However, Zhang Cheng did not forget the smell of his body. He took a shower in another villa and dried his hair before walking to the other villa. The car can't be driven. Zhongji's fragrance still lingers in the car, so let's put it there for ventilation. This is the benefit of buying two cars and keeping them. Back at the villa, as soon as Zhang Cheng entered the door, he heard the sound of Zhang Lai playing games while lying on the sofa. Give me blue from the jungle. I have no blue bar. Eh? What's wrong with you, jungler? Don't you know you want me to be blue? What? A 0/7 bad mage doesn't deserve blue. As soon as he heard what the jungler said, Zhang Lai was immediately unconvinced. What happened to the mage in 0/7? When I reach the midterm, I can kill them casually. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. With keen perception, after hearing the sound of opening the door, Zhang Lai turned around instantly. When he saw him coming back, he immediately said, "There are vegetables in the refrigerator, you cook it tonight." After saying that, Zhang Lai continued to play the game. If you don't come home for a long time, I won't serve you. I don't even want to forgive you if you don't cook a delicious meal. Zhang Cheng just changed his shoes, smiled slightly, and walked to the kitchen without saying anything. Fortunately, my cooking skills are also pretty good, but I haven't tried them much yet. He found an apron in the kitchen, tied it on, opened the refrigerator, took out the ingredients, and started cooking. It's not difficult for him to do this. An hour and a half later, Zhang Cheng brought the prepared dishes to the restaurant one after another. It's time to eat. When the last dish was ready, Zhang Cheng shouted towards the living room. Zhang Lai put down his phone and walked to the restaurant happily. Hey, let's do it. Wow, you did all of this. Zhang Lai was surprised when he saw the feast on the table. Braised fish, braised pork trotters with rice wine, stir-fried Shanghai greens, tomato and egg drop soup. A table full of delicious food. Zhang Lai glanced at him in surprise and said in disbelief, "Tisk, tisk, big liar, I didn't expect someone like you to be able to cook." With someone like Zhang Cheng, he could actually cook. It's just kind of scary. Zhang Lai suddenly said something in his heart, men who can cook are very handsome. Because they can conquer a woman's stomach. Thinking of this, she felt that someone from Zhang Cheng's background was handsome and could cook. If he is released, a lot of women will fall in love with him. Zhang Lai couldn't wait to pick up the bowl, serve him a bowl of rice, and serve himself a bowl. He quickly sat down, picked up the chopsticks, picked up a piece of braised pork, and put it into his mouth to taste it carefully. Oh! It's delicious. As soon as the braised pork was in his mouth, Zhang Lai's eyes lit up. Too delicious. Zhang Cheng took off his apron and sat across from her, watching her eating with a smile on his lips. Women are easy to coax. Big liar, can you cook for me every day from now on? Zhang Lai said to Zhang Cheng seriously while eating. Too delicious. Zhang Cheng took a bite of green vegetables and said with a smile, "Okay, as long as you are happy, I will cook it for you every day. Anyway, I have the final say whether to do it or not." Hey, you're so nice, big liar. Obviously, his answer made Zhang Lai take a few more bites of rice with satisfaction. She liked this kind of plain and warm day very much. The same is true for Zhang Cheng. Only those who stand at the top are qualified to say this. Ordinary people live such a life, and they are not satisfied. People of Zhang Cheng and Zhang Lai's status would be very satisfied if they lived such a life. Tired of dealing with various things every day. This kind of simple life is what they want. The two of them were eating and chatting in the restaurant, and Zhang Lai's silvery laughter sounded from time to time. Time passed quickly. While chatting, Zhang Cheng opened another bottle of red wine, and the two of them drank it bit by bit, and soon the bottom was exhausted. After finishing the meal, Zhang Lai's face turned a little pink after drinking more than half a bottle of red wine. There was a slight change in the eyes looking at Zhang Cheng. Big liar, I'm a little drunk. Zhang Lai's voice was delicate and coquettish. Zhang Cheng took a sip of red wine and said with a smile, "Then go and wash the dishes." Hearing this, Zhang Lai glared at him, angrily cleared up the mess on the table, and went to the kitchen to wash the dishes with the dishes. But considering that he cooked the food, it wasn't too much to wash the dishes himself. When she finished washing the dishes, she just bent down to open the disinfection cabinet. A pair of big hands suddenly hugged her waist. Zhang Lai was startled and resisted subconsciously, but his strength was too weak. He looked back at Zhang Cheng. "What do you want to do?" "Let go." Shenhao, My Fiancée is a Villain Female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 225. The sudden movement made Zhang Lai panic. The bowls and chopsticks in his hands suddenly fell to the ground, making a shattering sound. The two lotus-rooted arms pulled hard on the big hands at the waist. That delicate face that made people fascinated at a glance suddenly showed waves of shyness. With a pink face, I couldn't help but want to kiss Fangs. Because I drank some red wine, the pink color had a delicate feeling. Zhang Cheng kneaded gently, and his slender waist was almost too soft to hold, and his whole body was almost pressed against Zhang Lai's body. Taking a deep breath, Zhang Cheng blew gently into her ear and murmured, "I love you." Hearing this, Zhang Lai suddenly softened. "I'm a little annoyed, just a word. Why are you so unsatisfied? He is a killer. You don't want to lose face? Isn't this a very cold killer?" "Well, it's certainly not too cold. Because from the beginning, She acted very lively and didn't look like a killer at all. If I hadn't seen her dragging a dead body, I wouldn't have been able to tell. Big liar, your assessment period isn't over yet, and I haven't agreed to be your girlfriend yet, Zhang Lai said softly. Although I was moved by Zhang Cheng's words that night. But she never thought about having sex with him so soon. She is still so young, not at a wolf-like age, and she is still a young lady. Zhang Lai is only 23 years old. According to current sayings, that is the most suitable time. Although it is not very large, it is not considered an airport either. At least in Zhang Chengel's eyes, this is just right. Zhang Cheng hugged her, his hand movements became more and more excessive, and he said softly, I don't want to test, I want you. Really don't. Zhang Lai almost wanted to beg him, not to let him go. Zhang Lai is dressed very casually today, wearing a small white skirt, a yellow short-sleeved shirt, small white shoes, and a bun, which is still a very small and fresh outfit. Bah! Zhang Cheng directly kissed her little face and said with a smile, it doesn't matter whether you want it or not, I just want it. With that said, he let go of her waist, held up that heart-wrenching perfect face, and kissed her red lips. This action made Zhang Lai stunned. Forced kiss? They kissed like this for more than 3 minutes. Zhang Cheng always took the initiative and kept prying open her silver teeth. Don't. Zhang Lai's bright eyes widened, unable to resist Zhang Cheng's actions. We can only let Neptune do whatever he wants. Unable to struggle, Zhang Lai could only give up. He also learned to take the initiative to cater to Zhang Cheng's intrusion and entanglement with awkwardness and fear. A full 6 minutes passed before the two let go. Zhang Lai gasped slightly. This feeling is so wonderful, yet scary, and desirable. I can sue you. Zhang Lai looked at Zhang Cheng, who was smiling in front of him, and said angrily. Are there any human rights anymore? Zhang Cheng took off his tie, the suit thug skill was activated, and all attributes were increased by 50%. Includes charm attributes. For a moment, Zhang Lai looked a little crazy again. She is not a person who pays much attention to appearance, but after seeing the change in Zhang Cheng's temperament, she was still distracted for a moment. This is really, very hard for girls to resist. I took your first kiss. From now on, you are my official girlfriend, Zhang Cheng raised his head slightly and said matter-of-factly. Then I added another sentence in my heart, the fourth official girlfriend. The first 3 formal ones are Su Yao, Zhongji, and Chen Yingxiu. Then Zhang Lai is the 4th one. Zhang Lai gave him a blank look, do you think so? I agree. Stop making trouble and get out quickly. I have to clean up the kitchen. Zhang Lai pushed him gently, trying to pick up the pieces of the broken bowl on the floor. However, Zhang Cheng hugged her into his arms and kissed her again. The kitchen is a battlefield. Zhang Lai was completely speechless for him. Are you a kisser? Like kissing so much? Why am I so tired talking to this person? Zhang Cheng didn't pay attention to her resistance. If his physical constitution was over 175, plus the bonus of suit thug skills, it would be such a waste if he still couldn't suppress her. After letting go, Zhang Cheng said softly, come here. As he spoke, his hands began to move dishonestly. Zhang Lai's delicate body trembled, a little at a loss. Brother, this is the kitchen. Zhang Lai almost cried, are you so domineering? Zhang Cheng said confidently, as long as I am ready, whether it is the kitchen or the balcony, living room, and bathroom, I can do it. As long as a man is strong, no matter where he is, it will be the main battlefield. Moreover, this villa belongs to him and not anywhere else, so there is nothing to be afraid of. No matter what you do, no one will see it. Zhang Lai took a deep breath and said solemnly, do you have to do this? He looked at Zhang Cheng with serious eyes. Zhang Cheng nodded lightly, no matter where I go, there is evidence of my love for you. Let kidney deficiency come on faster. This time he took the initiative. Moreover, he really likes girls like Zhang Lai. Suddenly, the corners of Zhang Lai's mouth curved slightly, and his eyes were suddenly full of love. Big liar, you promised to love me, but you are not allowed to lie to me. After saying that, Zhang Lai took the initiative to kiss him. Zhang Chen didn't hesitate, moved skillfully, picked her up gently, and put her on her. Clothes fell to the ground one by one. Suddenly, an ambiguous and charming atmosphere began to swirl throughout the kitchen. I don't know how long it took, but Zhang Lai's muffled sound suddenly sounded. The battle begins. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 226. At the same time, in Xia Wanting's house, a family of 3 sat on the sofa in the living room without saying a word. The atmosphere is very strange. Until Xiahao put down his cell phone, exhaled a breath, and said gloomily, the Xia family has decided to kick us out completely. Let us go to the company tomorrow to hand over our duties, then pack our things and get out. He and his elder brother had just finished talking on the phone. Because it was Mrs. Xia's will, no one could change it. Xiahao was also not well received in Xia's company. Even if they are brothers, they look down on themselves. Then, what about this house? Xiaohao's wife's expression changed and she asked. This house is also the property of the Xia family. When their family was kicked out of the villa area, the apartment the Xia family gave them was not bought by them. Xiahao looked gloomy and said bitterly, they are afraid that Chen Luo will find out that the house was provided by them, so they also want us to move out as soon as possible. In the past few years, I have worked in Xia's company. Although I have only had a casual position, I have also made a lot of money, which is enough for us to buy a house. Xiaohao's wife's face changed drastically and she was extremely angry. They still think you are a member of the Xia family. Are you my mother's biological child? Why do they treat you so cruelly? Yes. But she won't recognize me. Xiahao waved his hand helplessly. Why? Xiahao didn't want to say more, but he couldn't let go of his frown. He once secretly took his father's hair for identification, and the result surprised him. He and the dead Mr. Xia are not biological father and son. But Mrs. Xia is. So, he can only be regarded as an accidental product of Mrs. Xia. Maybe so. That's why he was afraid and always regarded himself as a transparent person. If she was exposed, she, Mrs. Xia, would not be able to do what she did. Xiahao stopped thinking about this and looked at his daughter. Xiahao said in a deep voice, Ting Ting, we will move out tomorrow. We will no longer be here. We will go to the next city and live in another place. Xiahao has always regarded Xia Wanting as a treasure and wanted her to hook up with a kid from a rich family. Then the old lady would be happy and let herself return to the Xia family and live a comfortable life. However, the abacus was wrong, and the Xia family now shuns their own family as if they were the god of plague. He also gave up. Hearing this, Xia Wanting raised her head dully and responded, okay. She doesn't care anymore. He was abandoned by others one after another, or he kept choosing betrayal in order to gain power. Feeling bad. Chen Luo obviously loved him, but he slept with Zhu Ming for money. It turns out that Chen Luo still has a terrifying identity. This ending made her very uncomfortable. Why should my life have so much drama? Can't Chen Luo die more completely? Let Zhu Ming and I get married with peace of mind and live out this short life. She was afraid that these people would find her again. Xia Wanting smiled, yes. I have lost the membrane I am most proud of, and now I have been tortured by Zhu Ming. Readers who want to abandon the book should just abandon it. I will bear the blame for it myself. He buried his only daughter. P.S. I have thought about it. Although I write villains, I cannot write women as bad. This is to explain my own bottom line. After experiencing this day, their family came to regret. Because I didn't describe Xia Wanting's badness well in the early stage, I feel a little regretful when I write it here. I'm sorry, I'm not a qualified villain writer, it's because my writing skills are not strong enough. Especially Xiahao, he blamed himself even more, because it was him who sent Xia Wanting to Zhu Ming. That's why my daughter suffered. If you can't afford to live in the upper class yourself, then hide completely in a place without them, find someone worthy of love, and live your life. Wanting, open the door, it's me. Dad, stop talking. It's all over. Now society is so open. This is the first time for me, so it doesn't affect me, Xia Wanting said with a forced smile. She is tired and has become a good person. Looking at her look, Xiahao felt even more heartbroken. Although she is mean and loves money, she also cares about her daughter. She originally targeted Chen Luo because he was too useless and could not give her daughter a good life and her family a good life. Dad, let's move out tomorrow, Xia Wanting replied. Although he is not very good looking, he is still pretty. If you really want to find him, it is easy to marry a good man. This chapter may be regarded as a whitewash, so, if there are readers who don't like it, you can abandon the book. I don't want to write about the breakdown of an ordinary family just to deliberately exaggerate it. Seeing the changes in Xia Wanting, Xiahao and his wife looked at each other, both of them finding a trace of distress in each other's eyes. It was they who instilled those ideas in their daughters. After experiencing today's drastic changes, he realized that Zhu Ming did not really love his daughter, but was attracted by Zhongji's promise. Exhausted physically and mentally. I have done so much just because I don't want to be looked down upon by the Xia family anymore. I just want to live a good life and not be looked down upon by others. Is this wrong? The author has something to say. I am obviously not of the Xia family's blood, so why would I bother returning to the Xia family? It turns out that I am the most out of place. Just when the family fell into a warm atmosphere, an inappropriate knock and human voice sounded from outside the door. Beside, Xiaohao's wife also didn't know how to speak. If it is written badly, I am sure both men and women will be killed. However, if the description is not successful, I cannot continue writing. I will revise it tonight. I think it is better to write according to my 3 views. If everyone is not satisfied with this book so far, okay, then, thank you all for your company, thank you. Sorry, forgive me for being self-assertive. Tomorrow, listen to your dad, let's move to Xiangshan city next door and never go back to the demon city. Xiaohao's wife sat next to Xia Wanting, holding her daughter in her arms, feeling distressed. After Xia Wanting experienced what happened this morning, she completely understood. Hey, daughter, it's dad who can't forgive you, Xiahao sighed, his tone full of self-blame. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 227. Xia Wanting's family was recovering from loneliness. After hearing Zhu Ming's voice, the expressions of the 3 of them changed slightly. It's Zhu Ming again. The 3 of them looked at each other, and Xiaohao's wife asked softly, it's Zhu Ming, do you want to meet him? Xiaohao nodded, see you. Let's see what he wants to say. Now that he no longer wants to get involved in these upper-class affairs, he naturally doesn't want to see Zhu Ming again. But people have already come to the door, and they are too embarrassed to just say no. Xia Wanting stood up and went to open the door. As soon as the door opened, she saw Zhu Ming in a white suit, holding a bouquet of roses in his hand, and said with a smile, Wanting. What are you doing here? Xia Wanting asked, frowning slightly. Zhu Ming passed her, walked into the living room, and said, I'll take you back. Haven't we already decided to get married? As soon as he entered the living room and saw Xia Wanting's parents on the sofa, Zhu Ming called out again, "Uncle and Aunt, good evening, I'm here to pick up Wanting." After hearing his words, Xia Hao's face looked a little strange. Can't help but ask, "Take Ting Ting? Aren't you afraid that Chen Luo will come to the Zhu family for trouble?" Today, Chen Luo dropped his harsh words. No matter what, the Zhu family would definitely be destroyed. He didn't think that Zhu Ming's family would dare to touch his daughter. Zhu Ming smiled slightly, "Uncle, I was joking. Chen Luo wants to cause trouble for our Zhu family. That is his business. But Wanting and I are in love. No matter what happens to Chen Luo, I will never give up on her." Zhu Ming's affectionate words did not surprise the family, but their expressions became surprised. When did he fall in love with Wanting? After listening to their daughter's confession, the couple naturally understood what kind of person Zhu Ming was. "That's a pervert." What did you say?" Zhu Ming was dumbfounded and didn't know why. "Who do you think you are? You're just a bitch." Xia Hao's eyes were strange and he said, "Ask Ting Ting about this. If she is willing to go with you, then there is nothing we can do." Snapped. "Otherwise, how could this family be so indifferent to me? Normally, they would have invited me in to serve tea and water. She rejected herself, it must be Chen Luo who came to find her. Do you really think that any man will fall in love with you? You should learn to look in the mirror and see what you look like." "Yes, pervert." Xia Wanting frowned and said coldly, "No, Chen Luo didn't come. Otherwise, how could a woman like Xia Wanting, who is greedy for money, refuse her show of love?" Xia Hao's wife sat aside and said nothing. She was not able to intervene in this situation. She came from an ordinary family and was not qualified to make decisions. If Chen Luo hadn't been here, he wouldn't believe it. Xia Wanting rejected herself? "Bitch," Zhu Ming pointed at her and roared, "you stepped on the horse and caused me such misery. Now is it enough to say something inappropriate? Go back and don't come looking for me again." "Who knows?" Zhu Ming turned around and shouted at him, "Go away, who are you trying to ride on? Do you really think I'm treating myself like a green onion by giving you 2 points? Now, she has completely planned to leave the demon city and no longer wants to continue struggling with the wealthy family. Maybe a plain life is suitable for her." Xia Wanting took a deep breath and said solemnly, "I told you, you can go back, we are not suitable." "Wanting, come back with me." Zhu Ming turned around and said gently to Xia Wanting. His words made the three of them frown. Xia Hao said, "Zhu Ming, be careful what you say." As soon as Xia Wanting finished speaking, she slapped her hard on the face and knocked her to the ground. It was for the last chance to keep the Zhu family, and that was to establish a relationship with Zhongji. "Zhu Ming, can you speak more civilly? Also, you can't understand human speech, right? I told you, we are not suitable," Xia Wanting said angrily when she saw Zhu Ming yelling at her father. "However, it is just a sentence, will people really recognize it? I have seen clearly that you don't really love me. What you are doing now is just for Zhongji's good voice, so you don't have to come again." Zhu Ming was stunned for a while, and his handsome face turned ferocious. "Did Chen Luo come to see you again?" He was sure that Chen Luo must have come again. Maybe people will recognize it, but I guarantee you, she feels very nervous. Haha, will I believe you when I step on a horse? Do you think Chen Luo will like you? Zhu Ming threw the roses in his hand into the corner and mocked, "Who else will like you except me now? If you don't treat me well, who else do you think you can catch?" Xia Wanting didn't think much about it and simply rejected him. After Xia Wanting was surprised for a while, she slowly shook her head and refused, "No, we are not suitable. I want you, that's your blessing, don't step on the horse without knowing what's going on." Seeing Zhu Ming come to the door, she also understood. After thinking about it, he now gave the decision-making power to Xia Wanting and did not want to arrange her life anymore. Didn't their family just want to be with the rich? Now that he came to the door in person, she refused. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 228. At this moment, Zhu Ming's true nature was completely exposed. Because he felt that the reason they dared to reject him was definitely because Chen Luo had been here. With the character of this family, how dare they refuse their overtures? He saw clearly. She was very emotional at the moment, and even had the urge to kick her a few times. Anyone who dared to betray her would not be able to make it easy for them. After experiencing the ups and downs of the past few days, he had long been filled with anger. Seeing his daughter being beaten, Xiaohao's expression suddenly changed. He jumped up from the sofa, rushed behind Zhu Ming, and kicked him in the back. Boom! Zhu Ming was caught off guard by his kick and was kicked straight away, his mouth firmly hitting the ground. Several teeth flew out of the mouth. After kicking the person out, Xiaohao immediately closed the door and said coldly from inside, "Zhu Ming, although our family is ordinary, we will not let you manipulate us. Get out of here." Xiaohao helped his daughter up and looked at the red fingerprints on her left cheek. He felt extremely distressed. "Daughter, it's all because of your useless father who allowed you to be bullied like this." Although he had the urge to kill Zhu Ming, the middle-aged patience suppressed him and prevented him from making a mistake. "If you do this, one life will be exchanged for another, and your family of 3 will lose themselves. The mother and daughter still don't know how to live. This is the sadness of ordinary middle-aged people. Many times they have to worry too much and are restrained." Xia Wanting endured the burning pain, held back the tears in her eyes, took a breath, and said, "Dad, we will move out early tomorrow morning. We don't want their Xia family's salary or anything. Let's go." At this moment, she completely gave up. Everyone is acting. If I am just an ordinary person, who can I compete with? Zhu family? Xia family? Or Chen Luo? Will not work. They are all a family. There are only 3 of them. Xiaohao nodded crazily, "Don't wait early, let's leave now." After speaking, he looked at his wife. Xiaohao's wife understood, got up from the sofa, and walked into the room to pack her things with a sigh of relief. "It's okay if you don't want this shabby house. Their family also has a savings of 1 or 2 million, which they have saved over the years and gained from the Xia family's company. It is enough to buy a house and live in a small city. We don't have any hope for glory, wealth, or anything like that." Xia Wanting also returned to her room, pulled out the large suitcase she bought during her previous travels, and started stuffing her clothes, shoes, etc. into it. "I don't want the rest." In about 10 minutes, the 3 of them packed up everything, opened the door, and walked out. Outside the door, Zhu Ming covered his mouth and looked at the 3 of them coldly. There were still drops of blood on the floor. Seeing that he was still standing here, Xiaohao walked into the house again and took out a kitchen knife without saying a word. Seeing this posture, Zhu Ming's expression changed slightly and he got out of the way. This family is crazy. Xia Wanting's family took the elevator to the parking lot, got in the car, and left the community. Maybe in this life, they will never step into the demon city again. The next day, at night, Zhu Ming's house. Zhu Ming replaced himself with new teeth, and his face was extremely awkward. Until now, he has not calmed down. Did Xia Wanting's family run away? Where to run? Ha ha ha, son, good news. At this time, Zhu Gang returned home after running around for a day. As soon as he entered the villa, a cheerful voice came out. Zhu Ming looked over and asked with unclear words, "What's wrong, Dad?" "Ha ha ha, we have won an order from Tiancheng Technology," Zhu Gang said excitedly. Upon hearing this, Zhu Ming was overjoyed and took it. The Zhu family is stable. No more worries in this life. Can take big orders worth hundreds of millions. It was enough for the Zhu family to get out of the current predicament threatened by Chen Luo. After finishing the work, the company will get rid of it immediately, and the family can go to other places to do other things. There is no need to be frightened here in the Demon City. Zhu Gang breathed a sigh of relief and said with a smile, "Today's negotiation went very smoothly, and we won it with almost no setbacks." Today's cooperation negotiation was beyond his expectation. There was no process and Tiancheng Technology agreed directly. These rich people really don't regard money as money. That's good. I won't care about this bitch Xia Wanting, but when I get the chance, I will take revenge, Zhu Ming said excitedly. Speaking of Xia Wanting, Zhu Gang frowned again. You too, it's time to change your words. That bitch's family has probably left the Demon City and won't be able to meet her. Zhu Ming felt a little regretful. He still wanted to find this bitch's family and retaliate against them. Without continuing to dwell on this matter, Zhu Ming said, "Dad, it is difficult for us to continue to develop this Demon City. After taking this order, let's eat more money and then run away." Zhu Gang nodded and agreed, "Well, let's do some tricks on the account." The two father and son looked at each other and smiled, both seeing a smile in each other's eyes. In the Tiancheng Technology President's office, Zhang Cheng drank coffee, looked at the contract in his hand, and smiled. The contract was thrown on the table, and one page of the contract clearly stated, if Party B fails to provide the goods on time, Party B will compensate Party A for losses at 5 times the signed order price. And for this order, they signed $1 billion. Once the corresponding volume of goods cannot be provided within 5 days, then the compensation will be 5 billion. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shenhao, My Fiancée is a Villain Female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 229. Time flies by. On the 4th day, Chen Tiancheng was reading martial arts novels in the villa and manor. Suddenly, the cell phone rang on the stone table next to him. Chen Tiancheng put down his book and frowned when he saw the person on the caller ID. Chen Tiancheng, your son has been separated from your household registration now. From now on, his surname will be changed to Su. As soon as the call was connected, Su Lian's voice came out. Chen Tiancheng's expression changed drastically, and then, an unspeakable look of anger appeared. Bastard, bastard, Chen Tiancheng roared angrily at the mobile phone, then bastard really dares to sever ties with me. This is outrageous. What he didn't expect was that Chen Luo would dare to actually separate his household registration from him. You really dare to change your surname to Su? On the other end of the phone, Su Lian laughed and said, Chen, so what if your Chen family has a lot of money? Is my Su family bad? My son is with me. Doesn't this mean you are a waste? You can't even take care of your son. How dare you compete with me for your son back then? Su Lian's words deeply hurt Chen Tiancheng. He suddenly felt that he was wrong. He had always treated Chen Luo like a treasure all these years and supported him no matter what he did. As a result, now he dares to confront himself whenever something does not suit his liking. Of course, Su Lian may also be causing trouble. She is more spoiled by Chen Luo than herself. Su Lian, call that bastard over to the phone. I want to see what he says, Chen Tiancheng roared. Su Lian sneered, it seems like you, old guy, still don't want to give up, that's good. Not long after, Chen Luo's voice sounded, hey, what else do you want? Hearing the impatient tone, Chen Tiancheng's heart sank. His status seemed not important at all in this bastard's heart. Chen Tiancheng endured his raging anger and said in a deep voice, Chen Luo, what on earth do you want to do? What do I want to do? If it weren't for you, would I live like this? Do you still want to listen to your arrangement of life? Don't even think about it. I make my own decisions about my life, Chen Luo shouted when he saw him questioning himself. You have to take care of everything. You also want to take care of my affairs. Why don't you die? Let me do my own thing. Anyway, you won't get anything after you die. It's not up to me to decide what I want to do. How come you, old guy, can't see through this? Betrayed by the girl he had been in love with for so many years, Chen Luo blamed Chen Tiansheng for all the sins. Chen Tiansheng gritted his teeth, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Hearing Chen Tiansheng's words, Chen Yingxiu was a little confused and didn't know what was going on. I'll give you half of the Chen's shares in my hand. Not willing to give in. Wasn't everything I did done for him? Chen Tiansheng closed his eyes tightly. Chen Tiansheng said word by word, from today on, Chen and you are incompatible. In this demon city, either you die or I die. But without testing. P.S. Let's go through this at a fast pace. It's hard to write these things, and it's hard to arrange for the main characters to appear. The activities of these people are all written. I don't know if they have souls anymore. Please give me a gift, please update. Hey, he sighed suddenly and spit out blood. Chen Tiansheng picked up his cell phone and called Chen Yingxiu. Chen Tiansheng also understood that Zhang Cheng asked him to test Chen Luo solely for Zhongji's sake. Zhang Cheng asked himself to test Chen Luo, and the result was like this. A fishy sweet smell spread in the mouth. After losing his son, the test showed that his doting on Chen Luo for so many years was wrong. In his heart, he was just an old thing, hindering his thinking. Don't bother me anymore. My surname is Su now. I have nothing to do with an old guy like you. Take your money to hell. Arriving at the pavilion, Chen Yingxiu shouted, Dad, why did you call me back? When she walked into the pavilion and saw the blood foam on the ground, Chen Yingxiu's face changed wildly and she said anxiously, Dad, what's wrong with you? How do I know what kind of status I have in Chen Luo's heart? What kind of intentions did he have, and why did he let himself test Chen Luo? Yingxiu, come back. Dad has something to tell you. After Chen Tiansheng finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Then he said, Dad, it's okay. Sit down first. But then, Chen Tiansheng's words made her expression change. The son he had loved for so many years could actually say something like asking him to die. Is it bad to arrange for him the most well-matched woman in the demon city, Zhongji? Chen Luo's last words were like a knife, stabbing into Chen Tiansheng's heart. A mixed bag of good and bad. So, Dad now only has you as his daughter. Dad can't make up for the mistakes he made in the past. If he hadn't stopped her, how could her dream be shattered? Su Lian answered the phone and began to ridicule, Old man, do you hear me clearly? Now that you have no son, what else can you do? If you have nothing to do, hang up the phone as soon as possible. My son's food is almost cold. But are you willing? Is all this wrong? Ha ha ha, you want to shake the status of my Su family. Get lost, Su Lian laughed crazily, and then hung up the phone coldly. After she sat down, Chen Tiansheng closed his eyes and thought for a long time, then said slowly, Yingxiu, Dad is old and has been thinking about arranging your life all his life. My favorite martial arts novel is something I can't get into now no matter how I read it. Seeing Chen Yingxiu's reaction, Chen Tiansheng's eyes flashed with relief. An hour later, Chen Yingxiu hurried over. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 230. Transfer half of the shares to yourself. Hearing these words, Chen Yingxiu was a little confused. Dad said to transfer the shares to himself. Is this still him? Chen Yingxiu's voice was a little dry. Dad, what's wrong with you? What stimulated Dad? This is not something he can say. Chen Tiansheng sighed quietly and said with great disappointment, your brother and I have completely severed ties. Although his tone was very light, Chen Yingxiu could hear unspeakable disappointment in it. But, Chen Luo wants to sever ties with him. This is something Chen Yingxiu can't figure out. What happened? Seemingly sensing his daughter's doubts, Chen Tiansheng forced a smile and said, because your brother, Chen Luo, he blamed me for preventing him from marrying that woman from a small family. In anger, I said I wanted to sever ties with him, but I just wanted him to come back and apologize to me, but... Chen Tiansheng told her everything that happened during this period in an understatement. But some things are still hidden. Finally, Chen Tiansheng seemed to relax, breathed a sigh of relief, and said with a smile, fortunately, you are still with Dad, but maybe you will have more brothers in this year. Chen Tiansheng also told his secret. However, after Zhang Chen gave her the vaccination, Chen Yingxiu was not too surprised and nodded, it's okay, the next one is better, but Dad, you have to train him well. It would be difficult to train another Chen Luo. Chen Yingxiu didn't have much resistance to her father wanting to have another child. It was normal to raise an illegitimate child. Especially for someone in this position. Although she was a little uncomfortable, she still agreed. Anyway, she doesn't like the Chen family's assets. She has the ability to fight for it. Chen Tiansheng was a little surprised when his daughter agreed. Stay and have a meal with me before leaving. Dad is tired now and doesn't want to pay attention to it. Good. Luck value -10. Su Feng. Now he has taken everything lightly and is willing to obey his mother's arrangements. Life has no meaning. Why do I feel like something is missing from me, and it's something very important? Su Lian said displeased, what's going on? Why are you so flustered? Su Lian was stunned when she heard the name. Snapped. The secretary calmed down his anxiety and then explained, the majority of shareholders holding more than 10% of the group's shares have jointly requested to convene an extraordinary shareholders meeting. They want to vote for you to remove you from the position of chairman. But I can't describe this feeling. Looking at her well-behaved son, Su Lian was deeply satisfied. Chen Luo nodded lightly, okay, Mom. Bullshit on them. I have controlled the Su family for so many years and how much benefit I have brought to them. When Su Lian heard this, she immediately started to curse, if you dare to depose me, well, notify the major shareholder and the second shareholders to come and participate together. I'm going back to the company now. Although she is the only direct descendant of the founder of the Su family who founded the Su Group, there are many family members in the business family. Mother and son were sitting in the villa restaurant, enjoying themselves. Mother and son were eating when suddenly, the cell phone rang in Su Lian's bag. Su Feng is the grandson of her second grandfather, only a few years older than Chen Luo. The table is filled with sumptuous dishes. Su Lian's face became very ugly. She looked up at her son's puzzled eyes, feeling a little irritated. She forced a smile and said, son, something happened in the group. Mom went to deal with it first. Su Lian, who was still eating, suddenly stiffened when she heard these words. Shareholders say that your philosophy is inconsistent with the interests of Su Group, and that you made a wrong decision. Many shareholders think that you are harming the interests of the group. Then, he became angry and shouted, you bastard, are these people looking for death? Su Lian happily ate the food cooked by her precious son and smiled. I always feel that I have lost the most precious thing in my life. Chen Luo quickly recovered and put the dishes on the plate. Su Lian frowned, who was disturbing my son and me during mealtime? Dare you remove me? The Su group belongs to my Su family. Son, the food is going to be burnt. A voice suddenly sounded from behind, and Su Lian, a slightly fat lady, stood behind Chen Luo and warned. That old guy Chen Tiansheng is really unlucky. He doesn't want such a good son. It's just right, because those things back then made him unable to compete for his son. Son, tomorrow you and your mother will work in the Sue group. Mom will arrange a position for you. After a few years, when you get familiar with it, Mom will hand over the Sue group to you. What happened? The secretary was a little trembling. After she finished speaking, she said carefully, the shareholders said they want to remove you and recommended manager Su Feng to be the chairman. On the other side, at Su Lian's house, Chen Luo, who was cooking, suddenly frowned. She took out her cell phone and looked at it, and found that it was her secretary's call. Su Lian frowned again. After answering, before she spoke, her secretary's urgent voice came from the other end of the phone. Now he has returned it to himself. Mom, it's time to eat. Chairman, this is bad.